You wake up. The room is quiet. But inside, it isn't. The noise is there. The unfinished tasks, the expectations, the guilt of yesterday, the pressure of today, and the fear of never becoming what you could have been. Before your feet even touch the floor, the first battle has already begun, and you know it. Because that voice and the one that says, just 5 more minutes, it's not just about sleep, it's about escape. Escape from responsibility, escape from discomfort, escape from the weight of trying again, and yet you're here, not by accident, not because of luck, but because something in you refuses to stay asleep. Something in you still believes that you were made for more than this, more than comfort, more than scrolling, more than waking up in a loop of regret. Maybe you don't feel strong. Maybe your life doesn't look like a battlefield, but inside you is a war between the man you've been and the one you were born to become. That's where discipline begins, not in routines, not in planners, but in that silent moment when no one is watching and you choose to rise anyway. That's where Stoicism lives. Marcus Aurelius didn't train his mind on the throne. He trained it in silence, in the dark, when his enemies outnumbered his allies, when death sat beside him at dinner, when the weight of an empire pressed on his back and no one applauded. He didn't wait for peace to become disciplined, he became disciplined, so he could endure the storms that peace could never promise. And now it's your turn. This isn't a motivational speech, it's a call to arms, to build discipline that doesn't ask for permission, that doesn't beg for motivation, that doesn't break when life gets heavy. Because life will get heavy, and when it does, you'll need something stronger than a new habit. You'll need principles, ancient ones, tested in fire, carved into the soul by men who stood where you stand now, afraid, uncertain, but ready. So take a breath, drop the distractions, lean in, because these 8 Stoic principles aren't just ideas, they're weapons, and if you use them, you won't just survive the chaos, you'll become the kind of man who was built for it. So, if you're still with me, if something deep in your chest just stirred, even if it's small, then let's make a pact right now, not to watch this like just another video, but to feel it, to carry it, to let it change the way you move through the world. If you can do that, then what happens next won't just inspire you, it will transform you, because now we begin, not with hacks, not with habits, but with the very first Stoic principle that built the backbone of a Roman emperor. And hey, if you feel this, if this speaks to something real inside you, then don't just watch in silence. Hit the like button, not for me, but for you, to mark this moment, to say, this matters, and subscribe. Because this isn't the end of something, it's the beginning, and the path we're about to walk is one you won't want to walk alone. Principle 1, purpose over willpower. Willpower feels powerful until it isn't. You know the feeling, that burst of motivation at midnight, that sudden inspiration after a podcast, a quote, a gym reel. You say to yourself, tomorrow everything changes. And maybe, for a moment, it does. But what happens when tomorrow actually arrives, when the alarm goes off, when the sky is grey, when no one's watching and no one cares? What happens then? I'll tell you what happens. You snooze, you scroll, you make a silent deal with comfort. Just for today. And that's how another week dies. Because willpower can start a fire, but it can't keep it burning. It wasn't made to. It's a matchstick. It was never meant to carry the weight of your entire transformation. But purpose is different. Purpose doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you stand for. Marcus Aurelius didn't discipline himself to feel proud. He did it because he believed something deeper. You were born to do this. Not to be entertained, not to be applauded, not to chase highs or collect pleasures. You were born to fulfill a role, to serve something beyond your ego, to stand tall even when everything around you crumbles. That's purpose, and that's why he wrote in his journal every morning. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. So let me ask you now, and don't answer quickly. Sit with it. Feel the resistance, the discomfort, the truth. Why are you here? Not just on this video, here, in this life. What is the thing you were meant to become? Not what the world expects, not what earns likes, but what keeps whispering to you when the noise finally stops. That whisper, that ache, that's your compass. And once you align your life with it, something changes. You stop chasing hacks. You stop hoping for motivation. You stop asking how, and start asking when. You wake up not wondering if you feel like it, but remembering who the hell you are, because you're no longer trying to be disciplined. You are simply living in alignment with what matters most. And that kind of life doesn't need a motivational video. It just needs a mirror. So the next time you say, I need more willpower, remember what you really need is a reason that makes quitting feel like a betrayal, a reason that pulls you out of bed when everything in you wants to stay buried, a reason so personal, so sacred that you don't need applause, you just need breath. And if you don't have that reason yet, find it, or better, choose it, because once you do, you won't just wake up with discipline, you'll wake up with direction. Principle 2, don't rely on motivation. Motivation lies to you. It tells you just wait until you feel ready. You'll know when the time is right. One day the spark will come back, and so you wait. You wait, and wait, and wait. As the days pile up, as the goals collect dust, as the person you could become slips further into maybe someday. But let me tell you a hard truth. That spark, it's not coming, because motivation was never designed to carry you through a life of purpose. It was designed to react, not lead, to show up when the conditions are perfect, not when the storm is raging. And that's the difference between the average man and the disciplined one. The average man waits. He needs music, caffeine, a perfect morning, the right quote. He treats his mission like a mood. But the disciplined man, he doesn't wait for the storm to pass, he moves through it because he knows if his commitment depends on his emotions, he's already lost. Marcus Aurelius didn't need motivation to write page after page in his journal. He didn't need to feel excited to confront war, betrayal, or plague. He moved not because he felt like it, but because it was time. And that's what you must learn. Discipline is what begins when motivation dies, and it will die. It always does. One hard conversation, one night of poor sleep, one unexpected setback, and poof, it's gone. But discipline remembers the mission. Discipline doesn't ask, what do I feel like doing today? It asks, what does the man I'm becoming demand of me today? It's not sexy, it's not dramatic, and most people won't even notice, but that's the point. Discipline is forged in silence, in the lonely reps, in the quiet mornings, in the thousands of tiny decisions no one applauds, but you make anyway. Because you said you would, because the path chose you and you accepted. So stop asking for more motivation. Ask instead, what would my life look like if I stopped waiting to feel ready? Who could I become if I did what was right, even when I didn't want to? Because that's the man people respect. That's the man who finishes what others abandon. That's the man who rises, not with hype, but with honor. And honor doesn't need a reason to act. It acts because that's what's right. Principle 3, embrace the boring. Everyone wants the peak. Few are willing to climb. Everyone wants transformation. Very few want the repetition that builds it. We've been conditioned to believe that change has to feel exciting, that progress is supposed to be loud, that growth will come with fireworks and applause. But the truth is brutally simple. Discipline is boring, not sometimes, almost always. And that's exactly why most people never become who they were meant to be, because they keep quitting the moment things stop feeling inspiring. But the Stoics, they didn't need inspiration. They had something better, acceptance. They accepted the silence. They accepted the repetition. They accepted the dullness of mastery. Marcus Aurelius didn't need novelty to write. He didn't need a dopamine hit to reflect. He showed up every day, not because it was thrilling, but because it was true. That's what you have to understand. The boring parts of your life, the repetition, the structure, the quiet rituals, they're not distractions from the goal. They are the goal, because that's where your character is built. Not in the launch, not in the climax, but in the in-between, when nobody's watching, when nothing's changing, when you're doing the work, and all you hear is silence. That silence is where the weak quit, where the bored turn back, where the undisciplined start looking for something more exciting. But you're not here for excitement. You're here to build something that lasts, and nothing that lasts is built without boredom. Think of the warrior sharpening his blade, stroke after stroke, same motion, same steel, same silence. But one day, he doesn't have to think anymore. The motion is in his bones, the edge is perfect, and when the moment comes to act, he doesn't hesitate. That's what embracing the boring gives you: automatic power, unshakable rhythm, a foundation so solid that storms come and you stay standing. So the next time you're tempted to abandon your routine, to stop the repetition, to chase something new, ask yourself this: am I bored, or am I finally becoming consistent? Because boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the doorway. Walk through it, and you'll find something deeper than motivation. You'll find flow, you'll find identity, you'll find mastery, and mastery isn't built in moments of glory. It's built in the boring. Principle 4. Voluntary discomfort. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something hard, on purpose? Not because life forced you, not because there was no other option, but because you chose the harder path, when the easier one was just sitting there. That question reveals everything, because in a world addicted to comfort, voluntary discomfort is an act of rebellion. We avoid it. We hide from it. We label anything that hurts as toxic, unnecessary, trauma. But the Stoics, they chased it, not recklessly, not masochistically, but intentionally, because they understood a brutal truth. If you only get stronger when life punches you in the face, you'll always be a victim of life. But if you train deliberately in the fire, you become something different. You become unshakable. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for adversity to find him. Practiced it. He slept on the floor. He fasted. He denied himself pleasures, not because he couldn't afford them, but because he refused to be owned by them. He trained his mind to be free, because here's what most people forget. Comfort has a price, and that price is your edge. Every time you choose the shortcut, every time you say, "I deserve this," when you haven't earned it, every time you escape a little bit more into softness, you give away a piece of your strength, and you won't notice it. Not at first, but one day, something real will hit you: a betrayal, a loss, a moment that demands grit. And you'll reach for resilience, and it won't be there, because you never trained it. That's what voluntary discomfort does. It's not suffering for the sake of suffering. It's rehearsal. It's the mental gym. It's resistance training for your soul. It's the discipline of saying, "No, I will not take the easy way out. Yes, I will go toward the fire while I still have the choice." Because if you only train when you're forced to, you're not disciplined. You're desperate. So start choosing discomfort, small ones, daily ones. Wake up earlier than you want to. Sit in silence longer than you're used to. Say no when it would be easier to say yes. Take the stairs. Finish the cold shower. Speak the truth even when your voice shakes. Not because it makes you feel powerful in the moment, but because every time you do, you remind your mind that you are the one in charge, not your feelings, not your fear. You. That's Stoic training, not philosophy, practice. So the next time you face the fork in the road, comfort or challenge, don't ask what feels better. Ask what makes you stronger, and then walk toward it, even if it burns. Because sometimes that burn is the beginning of becoming who you were born to be. Principle 5. Control. What you can, release what you can't. How much time, how much energy, how many sleepless nights have you spent trying to control things that were never yours to command? You try to control what people think of you, how they react, what they say, what they post. You try to control outcomes, reactions, the timing of life itself. You try to control the weather of the world and of your emotions, and then you wonder why you feel so heavy. The Stoics had a word for that weight: waste. Because every second spent trying to control what isn't yours is a second stolen from the only thing that ever was, your own mind. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, sickness, death, loss, public pressure every day. And still, in the midst of it all, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say you'd find peace or happiness or comfort. He said you'd find strength, because the moment you stop trying to control the storm and start mastering your own sail, you become dangerous. You become free. But here's the problem. We don't want freedom. We want control. Because control feels safe. It feeds our ego. It gives us the illusion that if we just do everything right, nothing bad will happen. But that's not life. That's fantasy, and fantasies keep men weak. You want to be stoic? Then here's the shift. Draw the line. On one side, everything that belongs to the world. Outcomes, opinions, reactions, events. That side, let it go. On the other side, your thoughts, your actions, your effort, your response. That side, own it completely. No excuses, no stories, no blame. You don't control how people treat you, but you control whether you let them define you. You don't control the future, but you control the steps you take today. You don't control whether the world is fair, but you control whether you are. And when you finally stop gripping what was never yours, you free your hands to build what actually matters. So next time you feel anxious, next time you feel angry, next time life shakes your foundation, ask, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release. Not because it doesn't hurt, not because it doesn't matter, but because you matter more, and your peace, your clarity, your discipline. They don't come from controlling the world. They come from controlling yourself in the face of a world you never could. Principle 6. Reject the victim mentality. Yeah, they hurt you. Yes, and they lied. Yes, it was unfair, undeserved, and maybe even cruel. And maybe for years, you've carried that story like a scar, a reminder of why you are the way you are, why you act like this, why you don't trust, why you gave up on yourself. But here's the truth. Stoicism forces you to face. You are not responsible for what happened, but you are responsible for who you become because of it. And that's where most people fall. They confuse pain with identity. They confuse a chapter with the entire book. They let the betrayal define them. They let the failure write their story. They let someone else's actions shape their future. And in doing so, they become something even worse than hurt. They become helpless. And Stoicism? Stoicism declares war on helplessness. Marcus Aurelius lost children, friends, brothers. He was betrayed, rejected, tested again and again. He ruled an empire under pressure that would crush most men, but he never called himself a victim. Why? Because once you become a victim in your mind, you give away your most sacred power, the power to choose your response, to choose your frame, to choose your next move, regardless of what was done to you. Stoicism doesn't pretend pain isn't real. It doesn't minimize trauma. It doesn't say just be positive. It says something deeper. It says you can be wounded and still be powerful. You can be knocked down and still rise on your terms. You can lose everything and still keep your soul intact. That's real strength, and that's why the victim mindset is so dangerous, because it gives your power to the very thing that broke you. And as long as you stay in that identity, you will always need someone else to save you. But the Stoic path, it asks something harder. It asks you to save yourself, not by pretending you were never hurt, but by refusing to stay there. So the next time you hear that voice as the one that says it's not fair, the one that says why me, the one that says I'll never heal from this, pause and replace it with a new one. One that says this happened, I didn't choose it, but I choose what happens next. That's where freedom begins, that's where strength is reborn, and that's the moment you stop being a victim and you become a warrior. Principle 7. Honor the commitments no one sees. Anyone can show up when someone's watching. Anyone can push hard when there's an audience, when the lights are on, when the rewards are real, when the praise is waiting. But when it's just you, no recognition, no applause, no likes, comments, or metrics, what happens then? That's not a rhetorical question. That's the question, because discipline isn't proven in public. It's proven in silence. It's proven in that moment when no one would know if you quit, and you don't. The Stoics understood this in their bones. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to be remembered. He wrote them because he knew, if I can't keep my mind clear, my empire means nothing. No cameras, no social media, just a man staring down his own excuses, writing truths that would never be read, just lived. That's the Stoic way, to keep the promises that no one else even knows you made, that workout no one will see, that extra hour of reading you didn't post, that difficult conversation you had, not to prove anything but because it was right. See, most people keep commitments because of pressure, because of guilt, because of fear of being judged. But you keep them out of integrity, because you were watching, and that's enough. Let's go deeper. Who are you when the structure is gone, when the routine breaks, when the accountability partner stops checking in? Who are you when no one's validating your effort, when it feels like it's not working? when no one claps, not even once, because that's when most people fall apart. They say, what's the point if nobody notices? Why push so hard if no one cares? But the Stoic doesn't ask those questions. The Stoic asks, am I being who I said I would be? Because the reward isn't attention, it's identity. It's becoming the man who does what he says he'll do, who follows through, who doesn't abandon himself even in the dark. And that kind of discipline, it doesn't expire, it doesn't crack, it doesn't beg for permission, it becomes who you are. So here's the challenge. Tonight, when it's quiet, go back to the promises you made, the quiet ones, the hard ones, the ones no one knows about, and ask, did I show up today? Even when no one would have blamed me for quitting? If yes, carry that pride in silence. That's yours, earned, lived, unshakable. And if the answer is no, then good. You now know where to begin again tomorrow. Not for them, not for status, but for you. Because the man who honors his unseen commitments is the man who can carry anything. Principle 8, progress over perfection. Perfection. It sounds noble, it looks impressive, it sells books, courses, promises, but in the real world, perfection is a trap, and the longer you chase it, the further you get from discipline, because perfection doesn't want progress. It wants control, it wants certainty. It wants the guarantee that you'll never mess up, never fall short, never be embarrassed. But you will, and that's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. Ask yourself, how many dreams have you delayed because you didn't feel ready? How many workouts did you skip because it wasn't the perfect time? How many mornings did you lose because the plan wasn't ideal, or the mood wasn't right, or you messed up yesterday? That's the voice of perfectionism. And its mission is simple: keep you stuck, keep you planning, overthinking, doubting, adjusting, restarting, always restarting. Because as long as you're about to start, you don't have to risk failing. But Stoicism isn't afraid of failure. It expects it, it prepares for it, it invites it, because failure is not the opposite of progress. It's part of it. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, be perfect. He said, when jarred unavoidably by circumstance, revert at once to yourself. Not next week, not after. Another reset, at once. He knew that self-discipline doesn't mean never slipping. It means coming back to the path, quickly, consistently, without drama. Because progress is movement. It's forward motion, not flawless motion. And if you truly want to become who you were meant to be, you have to let go of this idea that you need to get it all right. You don't. You just need to show up better than yesterday. That's it. One less excuse, one better choice, one deeper breath, one act of courage when comfort was easier. That's progress, and progress compounds. It stacks. It becomes identity. So here's the rule. Fall, fine, stumble, of course. That's life, but return, immediately, relentlessly, with humility, not shame, because the man who demands perfection will quit the first time he fails. But the man who commits to progress, he can't be stopped, because every mistake becomes a lesson, every setback becomes fuel, and every day, even the ugly ones, becomes part of something greater. So forget perfect, build real, because real is what remains when perfection breaks. So now you know, you don't need more hacks. You don't need another motivational spike. You don't need a perfect morning routine or the perfect version of yourself to begin. You need to decide to wake up, not just from sleep, but from the story that says you're not ready. That says you need to feel it first. That says you're not that kind of man, but you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Something brought you to this point, something that's been whispering for years. There's more in you, not more hype, not more ambition, more honor, more stillness, more fire that doesn't flicker when the wind blows. And now the path is clear. You have 8 weapons, 8 principles carved by warriors, emperors, philosophers, men who had everything to lose and still chose discipline over ease. The rest is on you. This video can't walk for you. It can't wake up with you. It can't hold your hand when the voice of comfort starts whispering again, but you can. And when that voice returns, and it will, telling you to skip the work, to quit early, to start over tomorrow, you'll smile because now you know. That's just the old script, and you've already chosen a new one, so start quietly, relentlessly, today. And if this helped you remember who you are, then help someone else remember too. Like this, share, then subscribe. We're not done walking, we're just getting started.